So about, at least my mission, the culture in my mission, it's kind of hard to understand until you're there. I think the best way to describe it now, in my mission, there are big cities and small cities. So the big cities, they have, shopping centers. It's very, very urban, very, we could go downtown and it's not going to be similar, but it's a downtown feel, high energy, has this city feel to it. But I grew up in Utah. So in Utah, at least, in Provo and in Salt Lake area, the cities kind of blend together. So you can go from, I live in Sandy to Draper, and there's no definitive line other than the sign that says, welcome to Draper. You don't know, you pass a line. But in Salta, at least, there's the big cities, and then you'll be driving with nothing, just in a desert for 45 minutes to an hour by bus, and then you'll come to like a little city that's just kind of been plopped in the middle of the road. Then you'll have to drive another 2 or 3 hours to get to the next city, which seems like it's just been stuck in the middle of the road. So I think that, understanding that if you are in the big city, it can be it just depends on the people and your investigators, because then your investigators will have jobs. They probably will be educated. Their schedules will be harder to work with. It might be more, run off of time than, say, someone who lives in a more rural city. Usually where I served was rural. So I remember my first night I got to the mission, and I stayed in Salta. My trainer came and picked me up with the other missionaries. We had our training, and then we left. And oh my gosh, I remember this was so crazy. Okay, so my companion was this cute little Chilena. Her name's Hermana Castro, and she's the best. I just adore her. Oh, sorry, Mike. Sorry. Okay, so I just adore her. So she picks me up, and then we left. And in that moment, I kind of realized, this is it. I haven't even met my president before, but I felt a huge attachment to him. Like, this is my dad. This is the person that I love. And they're taking me away from this person that I just met, but he's so important to me. So we go to leave, and she's probably 5 feet tall. And we go and find a remis. And a remis is like a little taxi. So you can travel by these remis or taxis or bus. So we had missed the last bus because it was late. It was probably like 11:30 at night by the time that we were going from the capital or the mission at home to our city, which is an hour away by bus. So she took my huge suitcases. We called a remis, and they have like all everything there. It's just a little bit older. So a lot of their taxis are cars from the 80s, but they're a little bit older just because they're not American style, but kind of think of that, older cars that are a little more compact. So the driver shoved my huge suitcase in the trunk, and only one could fit. So then the other suitcase was in the back of the car, the back seat of the car, and my companion that I just met was sitting on my lap because we couldn't fit. Well, they want to be really efficient about getting paid as well. So they don't want to make a big trip unless they have all the seats are taken up. So I just remember I didn't understand anything. It was dark. We just got in this car that, I actually I thought it was going to fall apart, kind of. It was kind of old. So we get in this car with this man that we don't even know. And then we're driving around, and then suddenly he makes a turn and he pulls into some underground parking lot. And I just remember thinking, that's it. We are going to die. we are going to die. He has taken us here because I was so arrogant, because I'm an American and now I have all my things here. Clearly all my money is here and everything I have. And this was so terrible. And he's going to take all our stuff because there were a lot of other people, a lot of other cars, a lot of action going on, and I had no idea what was happening. But I think that's one of the most important things to understand about the culture. What he actually did was take us to like their little taxi hub to pick up another person to go to Güemes. So he didn't lose any money on the trip. So this other big guy gets in. So to ending up at the end of the drive, being such good friends with the man that he picked up and the driver. And we got their information. They had talked to missionaries before. They loved the church. And we were able to go and send the one reference off and visit the family of the other man. So, you go from these situations to, I'm not sure how this is going to be. I don't even know, just because my companion, she's got a badge on, but I don't even know anything about her. To, these people are so awesome. They just laugh. They don't have a care in the world. It's kind of like, oh, the car just broke down. Don't worry. It's fine. We'll just keep going. Or, oh, I don't know. A horse just ran into our front yard. Oh, don't worry. They're so wonderful in that way. Just, oh, don't worry. We don't have any worries here. We're just happy. And so in these smaller towns, though, they are founded in the 1800s. So you go into these smaller towns, and a lot of they all have a city square, which is so cute and so quaint. It's almost like you're walking back in this town in Spain from the 1800s, where they have this center, and usually the big Catholic church is just right in the center square. And they have statues in the center, just trees that are maybe 10, 12 feet in diameter, just huge. It's beautiful. And the streets will be paved. At least I'm talking for the more rural. If you're in the city, it's going to be different. But my experience was, the main streets are paved, and maybe 2 or 3 streets farther than that on either side. And then it's all just dirt roads. It's all dirt roads, and all the houses there are made of concrete because it's just so dry, or it's so hot. They don't have, sheetrock or anything down there. Literally, they get cinder blocks, and they will build their houses out of cinder blocks. If you have a concrete house, it's probably because you're a little bit more wealthy. They only have normally 1-story houses. 1-story houses with maybe 2 to 3 rooms. If you see someone with a 2-story house, they're very wealthy. So that's kind of interesting, and they'll usually live closer to the center, or this central plaza. Does that make sense? So, but then the farther out you go, it'll be, cinder block houses, very humble people. A lot of them are very humble. They'll usually have a little kitchen. There are no dishwashers there. There's no dishwashers. There's no washers for your clothes, washers or dryers. And then they'll probably have 1 or 2 rooms where all of their children will sleep together, usually in the same bed, or they'll have 2 beds. And it's very common to have big families, from my experience down there. That's very common for a mother to start having children when she's 16 or 17. And then keep having children up through her 30s. And a lot of times these women that are now in their 30s are grandmas. So that's just it was so interesting to see that family dynamic where it's, big families. And because a lot of times these women will have a lot of children, they'll go back and live with their parents. So there's not a lot of, until you're established, you could have 2 or 3 families living in the same little home. And that's why you'll get, 2 rooms with maybe 4 or 5 people sleeping in one room, and, maybe the grandma and the grandpa, whoever's house it is, sleeping with 1 or 2 more in their room. So it's all and that's kind of where they get this close-knit society from, just because that's how they grew up. They grew up as whatever I have is yours as well. So it's just it's so fun. It's so fun because you'll be walking down the street and there's just children playing everywhere. Usually was my experience, just children playing, and you really realize how blessed you are. No matter if you're in I would say, maybe in a poor area or an okay area, they're not like our neighborhoods here, And you really realize that what you're doing is really hard, because you have to go to these people that you love, that they don't have any money, but they want to feed you because food equals love there. And they want to give you these things, and you also are going to tell them about tithing and how that's going to bless their family when they already can't feed their family. Or you see these kids that they don't buy shoes in the summer because they're just outside all the time, or their shoes are either torn to pieces, but these kids will just run up to you and they will want to love you. They just want to love you. And I think that that's the best part. So as a missionary, you do look different. So as you're wearing a skirt, the elders are wearing their ties, so you look different, but they recognize you as having this glow. And before the mission, you hear about the glow, and you're like, oh, the glow, they have the glow, the missionary glow. And you don't realize it until you get there and people tell you, and you don't see it. I wouldn't say that you necessarily see it in yourself, but others recognize it, and then you recognize it as they change. Okay, so the people of Salta has 4 provinces in it, the mission of Salta. So there's Salta, Jujuy, Santiago del Estero, and Tucumán. And Salta also is right up on the border. It's on the border of Argentina and Bolivia. So a lot of Argentinians are from Italian descent, but also where I was, there's a lot of Bolivians as well. So you get a mix of just people that if you didn't know you were in a foreign country, you would think you were just walking down the street. And a lot of just fair-skinned people, but there's a stark contrast to a lot of the Bolivian people because they're very dark. So it's really fun because in this culture, in my mission, there's kind of these 2 separate cultures, and in the smaller places they've meshed together. So it's so fun, but the people are just so wonderful. They are so wonderful. I think that I didn't take, or it's something that I wish I would have known when I was called to Argentina, is that Argentinians don't base their relationships off of time constraints. So here they see us as kind of cold towards our families, because sometimes we don't live with our families. Sometimes we don't even talk to our families for a week, or sometimes, we don't say hi, or we're not just overly friendly. And in Argentina, the culture is, if I love you, I want to spend as much time with you as I can. There's no we're going to go to dinner, and dinner will probably last. We'll go at 5, and then we'll probably come home about 6:30, or this church meeting, it's going to be 45 minutes, 9 to 9:45, right before church starts. It's not like that. If they love you, they're going to want you to come and stay, which is kind of hard with mission rules, because when you teach a lesson, it's for 45 minutes. Preach My Gospel says the longest lesson you should ever teach is 45 minutes. So it can be hard at times because they're so wonderful that they want to serve you. They want you to come. They want you to sit down, and they want you to be a part of their family. I have I have, converts that I still talk to a lot on a weekly basis because they're so special. They love just differently than we do. There's no, well, you're only gonna be here for 45 minutes, right? We kind of have this preconceived notion in our heads. If it's a dinner, we're gonna be there an hour and a half. But for them, it could be, just so long. They're so wonderful. They're giving. If they love you, they'll give anything that they have. And they're just funny. They're so fun. And they have big relationships, big families. We taught a family the Familia Molina, and the parents they all lived on one street. The parents maybe had, I don't know, I didn't even meet all their kids, maybe 7 kids, but 4 out of the 7 lived on the same street as their parents. And that's just how it is. Family stays close, and you just raise your kids kind of together. So it's really fun. It's really cool. There was a man that we taught, Hermano Molina. This was the same family that they all lived in the same street. And I just love them. This man, he went from a hard man. He didn't drink anymore, but he drank a lot of tea and coffee. But he was very alcoholic, and he was very abusive to his wife and to his children for years. And as we taught him, he just changed from being kind of a hard, gruff man, kind of has a voice, like that, to just this docile, sweet man that never, ever missed a Sunday. He never missed a Sunday after that. If I could tell a story really quickly, this family, they're special. They're so special. We went, and it's a long story. The backstory is a long story. But anyway, when I met them, the son, so they're all Molina because all of the sons married women. So they're all the Familia Molina. You can't differentiate with last name. But anyway, so the son, David, and his wife, Rosa, well, they got baptized. Then the week after they got baptized, they lost literally everything. They lost what little money they had. They lost their jobs. And they took it as a sign that God was punishing them. So this is the son. And so they didn't come to church. And we had passed by so many times trying to get them to come to church, trying to even meet them. Because they would, another thing that they kind of do is they kind of, peek if you're out there, and then they just won't answer. I think that's kind of normal wherever you go. So we couldn't meet them, and we had passed by so many times. So my trainer was transferred out, and my second companion, she came into the area, and I said, listen, we've passed for them for months, and nothing has happened. I think this should just kind of be the last time, and then we'll close the store, and we'll maybe write on their teaching record, come back in a couple months. So we knock on the door, and immediately they came out and answered the door. And they said, please come in. We need to go back to church. And this was probably 7 months after their baptism, and they'd been inactive that entire time. So they said, come in, and we were so surprised. So we walked in, they got us, they gave us juice. They called their whole family around this tiny little table. And some of us were sitting on buckets, on crates and chairs. And they said, our son is starting to get with, and their son is 10. And he said, he's starting to hang out with kids that we don't like. We need to go back to church. So we started teaching them, and then our president introduced something as a mission. He said, try to teach in groups. So teach in a member's home, have them invite people. So instead of, we taught maybe 12 or 15 people in their home at a time. So it was, maybe out of those 15 people, there were 5 or 6 members and then 8 or 9 investigators. So instead of having to go and teach all these families, we just taught in big groups. So we were at their house. We started a group at their house. And all of their cousins were coming. Some of the, the aunts and uncles were coming. And the son, David, started talking to his father, who was the man that had all the addictions anyway. So he started talking about, man, we're going back to church. We love this. The missionaries come over. They come over, I can't even remember, maybe it was Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 7. We came over and he goes, you should come, Dad. You should come. And the dad eventually started coming. I remember the first time that we had this group and we all looked up. And the dad was kind of standing like, nonchalant in the doorway, like he had come to play with his little grandson. Like, oh, I just came to play with little Axel, and Axel's 3. And so, oh, you're going to play with Axel? Okay, well, Axel's actually listening with us. Did you want to listen too? Well, I guess, sure. Pull up a chair. So he came, and which kind of started mending this huge rift in their family, because ever since the time that the son and his wife and son got baptized, their mother, his mother, Hermana Molina, she never set foot in their house. She wouldn't come over. She would let them come to her house, but she wouldn't go to their house. She wouldn't really go to see her grandkids unless they came over. So that caused a huge rift in their family, even though they weren't active. So when they started activating or becoming active again, it was hard again for their family. So anyway, so the dad started coming and listening. Then after a while, we went to their house a couple times, the grandfather's house. And we met his wife, and they're very nice people, but she was an evangelist. Is that the right word, an evangelist? Evangelical? I don't know, anyway. So she was really stalwart in this other religion. So we invited them over. She said she would come, but we knew she wasn't going to. So that night we went to their house. There was a group of 15 people, and we had prayed and we had sung the opening song. And we all at the same moment looked up and looked to the door, and she was standing at the door. And it was as if time froze. We all just sat there and looked at her. And it was kind of in like a scene from a movie where suddenly everyone's like, oh, get a chair. Wait, there's no more chairs. Okay, all the kids off the chairs. You get a bucket. You sit right here. Like, you sit on the chair. There's just this flurry of activity. And she came in and she listened, and she didn't commit to anything. She doesn't know how to read. So from that day forward, her husband would read the Book of Mormon to her every day. And he was really instrumental. We had to go really slow, but he would read, and for a long time he'd read out loud, but she was still kind of like harping on him a little bit. But shortly, so he got baptized right before I was transferred. And then shortly after I was transferred, she got baptized as well. And they're active. And a lot of their family is getting baptized still. And she's now, I think, in the Relief Society presidency. This woman who was so against it. And they change. These people really do change. And, you could see, you just felt it in their home. You would walk in their home, and it was different. You could feel the spirit. There was no more tea. There was no more alcohol. There were no more cigarettes. They just dropped them. And when you go as a missionary, you give out a lot of those little pamphlets, like the Restoration, the Plan of Salvation. And a lot of times after these investigators become members, they'll cut those up and stick them on their walls as pictures of Jesus Christ. Because a lot of times, the Catholic religion, they have a lot of beautiful pictures of the Savior, but a lot of the things that they have in their homes are of the Savior on the cross. And so it was really fun to see them replace those with instead of a picture of the cross, there's a picture of the resurrection. And that was awesome. So I got to the MTC and got put with my companions, and that was the greatest experience for me. I think it's so wonderful being forced to be with someone 24/7. It's so wonderful, and I can really see why the Lord would want young people to do that. Just because it's training of, to be with a spouse or be, at a job or to raise a family, because, in the rules, your success is based on your obedience. And success doesn't equal baptisms, but it equals obedience. Because the Lord's not just training you for baptisms, but He's training you for your entire life. So that was a really important rule to me in the MTC, just being with your companions, even if you didn't like them. You just stick with them, and you're forced to be with this person. And, it's kind of like you're forced to have a best friend. And you can either decide to think they're weird, and you can decide to judge them, or you can decide to love them and pray about them. And they may still be weird, even if you pray about them. They probably still will be, but you will change. And I think that was the greatest thing, about the MTC, was being with. I had 2 wonderful companions. I never really had problems with companions on my mission. Looking back, I had probably one big fight with every Latina companion that I had. But looking back on it, they were all my fault. It probably wasn't anything she did. I just needed to learn sensitivity or compassion, just because our cultures were so different, that I was judging her on things that she wasn't doing that I expected of her, and, vice versa. So I feel like any of the big disagreements that we got into were because Heavenly Father needed me to learn a lesson about them and about myself and about how to be a better person. Any advice that I would give to sister missionaries is, first of all, don't, be health conscious, but don't worry about your weight. Don't worry about it. You're not going on a mission to be a supermodel. Go on a mission to serve the Lord. And I did. I gained about 15 pounds on my mission. I feel like that was, I don't know if that was average, but all the sisters in my mission, I feel like we did gain about 10 to 15 pounds. And first of all, it's because the food is phenomenal. And second, I just feel like Heavenly Father is so protective of His daughters. He's just really protective of us. And at least for people that I've talked to, I feel like that was, could be a measurement of safety, maybe not being just being different. I don't want to say that becoming less attractive or anything, but I really feel like it was a good thing. So I don't regret it, and I don't regret anything I ate there either. So I'm happy, right? I'm happy. So anyway, but talking about that, in the morning you're going to be exercising every morning for 30 minutes. You can exercise in your apartment. Some people will bring, workout routines. If you have a companion that likes to run, or you can find a circle, you can run, and that's just fine. So don't worry about that too much, because when you're focused on the work, everything's going to work out. So if you're worried about, being weight conscious, I would just say, just pray to Heavenly Father right now. He knows it's important to you, but He knows that what He's doing is more important in your life than your physical appearance. And down there, you don't need to be flashy, and you don't want to be flashy. Depending on where, rural or city, like if you're in a city, you do want to look nice, because these are people that have professional lives, but you do not want to call attention to yourself. So, earrings like this, don't take them. You're not going to use them. Just think conservative. A necklace like this, never, ever. I came back and was like, wow, look at all this jewelry, but just keep it, little pendants or something like that. When you look at the people, they're very simple. A lot of them don't have a lot of money. A lot of them shop at what they call ferias, which is kind of like, it's kind of like a farmer's market, but with clothes. So the DIs or Goodwills that we have will send all of these clothes down there. I mean, I've shopped in the ferias and I've seen clothes with DI tags on them. So I know they come from DI. So you just got to think that they sell these clothes so cheaply that you don't want to bring attention to yourself. I work in the MTC, and so I see a lot of sisters and what they're taking, and they have super cute things, but they're super cute for here and maybe would be a little ostentatious down there, as to where you just, skirts, definitely skirts below the knee. If the skirt hits the knee, it's too short, just because you're going to be sitting all the time and sometimes in low benches. So your legs, when your bum is lower than your knees, your legs come up and you will be able to, you don't want it to see anything. You want to keep everything private. So all of my skirts went below, and it was actually more comfortable. Don't take any kind of pencil skirt, because you're going to be walking all day, every day. For 10 to 12 hours, you're going to be walking. So don't take pencil skirts, because you're walking fast. So I would say A-line skirts is they're the only way to go. Only way to go. Also, don't take skirts. I mean, it's a fine line. Take skirts that are below the knee when you cross your legs, but don't take skirts that are too long, just because they'll get really dirty. Dogs will nip at them if they wave too much, you know what I mean? Or if they flutter. So the thing I tell missionaries, if I could do my shopping all over again, I totally would. Because the skirts that I ended up wearing I honestly got at DI. And they were awesome. I look back at my pictures and I was like, oh, I wore these every day. Like, I wore and you know what? I brought so many clothes, but I left them all there. So I would say shop, to keep in mind that if you're shopping, you're probably going to end up leaving it all there. Just because after a year and a half, you are so sick of these clothes, number one. They're worn out, number two. And you come to love the people so much that they just want a part of you. So, and they don't have a lot of times church clothes. So you probably will end up giving your clothes away to investigators that don't have skirts, or to people that don't have necklaces. So if anyone ever told me on my mission, oh, I really like that skirt, I really like your necklace, I would write it down. And then at the end of my mission, I remember that little piece of paper and I sent it all out to those people. And a lot of times at the end of your mission, you can give the clothes to your mission president's wife. Well, my mission president's wife was in charge of this, and she would give it to the missionaries who were going out that couldn't necessarily afford all these new clothes. So I went to DI and got a couple skirts. Then I had a really nice, just a plain black skirt, a gray skirt, a tan skirt, and then patterned skirts. So just wear clothes that are versatile, like the shirts. I wore t-shirts, not t-shirts obviously, but like t-shirt length. I seriously went to JCPenney and got this same shirt in maybe 6 different colors, and it was awesome. I mean, I don't know what you want to do, but I would have, a couple nice outfits for zone conferences, interviews with your president, special occasions. But other than that, in Salta, it is very cold or it's super hot. So kind of like Utah, we have the 4 seasons here. When our fall and spring happen, it's kind of the same weather. It's just beautiful. It can be beautiful for a couple months. But then once you change into their winter, like, it doesn't snow down there very often, but it gets cold. And I was looking back through pictures, and I brought, those tight, like those spandex exercise pants, and I would wear those under skirts because it got really cold, or bring a sweatshirt for the nighttime. There's no carpet down there. It's all tile. So if it's really cold, it just feels even colder. It feels like you're in a freezer. But if it's really hot, everything heats up and it's like you're in a heater. So just bring things that you can, I brought a lot of sweaters So if I was hot, I could take a sweater off or put it back on. And this honestly was probably the best. So just things that are versatile, things that are very, simple, so that people don't look at you and say, oh, you're an American. You don't want to stick out because of that. So I would say just simple clothes, something that's comfortable, something that you can move around in. Also, I would there are certain toiletries that I would plan on bringing for a year and a half. Just pack a year and a half's worth, and it's worth the space in your suitcase. Because down there, you're probably not going to find what you want. And another thing, I brought a year and a half supply of toothbrushes and razors. You can get toothbrushes, you can get toothpaste, you can get deodorant. They're not things that I would necessarily say that were brands that we're used to, but you can get those. If you have something that's super important to you, bring that, because finding a nice one down there is maybe going to be a little hard. Something that I didn't realize until like maybe halfway through my mission as well down there is that really the price is the quality of the product. So here you can go to Walmart and you can get like a name brand, or you can get, say, an Equate brand. And I mean, there's maybe a difference, but is the difference that big? Probably not, But down there it is. So the more expensive, the more quality. So just kind of keep that in mind, that the things that you like might be more expensive and you might not have the budget for it. So I would say shoes too, just bite the bullet. They're going to be ugly. And at the end of your mission, you're not going to want to throw them away. Like I'm vain when it comes to shoes. And so when I bought my missionary shoes, I was so upset. I just thought they were terrible, thought they were so ugly, and that I was never going to wear them because they weren't sparkly, they weren't high heels. But now I still have them. I still have the one pair. The others just got so terrible and holes in them that I had to throw them away. But my one true and faithful pair, I will never throw away, just because they're your mission. You walked thousands of miles in those shoes. So, but shoes, I would say, if you go into like a shoe store, like a Forever 21 or a Payless, and the flats that you would buy there, do not buy those. Do not buy those. When I'm talking flats, you're going to want something comfortable, maybe with like a Mary Jane strap so it doesn't fall off your foot really easily. But the thing that you want to look for is something with a thicker sole. So a lot of people ask me, well, does that mean like the Danskin clogs? I didn't take Danskin clogs, but I took something similar to that was like molded to my foot a little bit better. So like we were saying, don't get shoes like this. I'm so sorry. This is my shoe with a thin sole. This is going to wear out in maybe a month. Less than that. So you have to keep in mind that you're walking all the time. You're just walking on pavement. Well, first of all, but chances are you'll be walking on dirt roads. They're just filled with rocks, pebbles, big rocks. It's not comfortable to walk on. So the thinner the sole, number one, the faster it's going to wear out. And number two, the less comfortable you'll be. So I had I brought 4 pairs of shoes. Oh my gosh, I brought 5. You do not need 5. You don't need 5 like me. That was just excessive. Okay. So I brought ones that were kind of like, they're not the Danskin shoes, but they have the higher sole and they were form-fitting to my feet. So I brought those. I brought another version of those that were just entirely plastic that I wore in the rainy season, which were really nice. I don't know what you think about boots. I didn't take boots. I don't know what the mission president would suggest on boots, but I was fine with they're basically essentially plastic boots, just plastic shoes, and they were fine. Then I took a pair of flats and then 2 of the same shoe that was different colors. But one of the shoes I kept as my nice shoes. Like I would only wear them to church, or I would only wear them to zone conferences or interviews with president. because those are times you want to look nicer. So towards the end of my mission, I gave one pair of shoes to a companion that needed them. Then the other ones had holes in them, and they had a thicker sole. It happens. The other ones, the sole completely ripped off. And so I was down to the 2 pairs of shoes. My nice Sunday shoes, which had been nice my entire mission until my last 2 transfers when I had to start wearing them every day, and then the higher soled shoes. So I'd say bite the bullet, buy quality. I would say maybe 3 pairs of shoes. I feel like you could do it with 3 pairs of shoes, like a higher soled shoe, another one, and then like a shoe that you're going to keep nice until necessary, maybe until you just have to use it, until you just need it. So just bite the bullet on that. You can bring Dr. Scholl's if you want. I brought a pair. I think I had my mom send me another pair. Something so important, it just came to my mind. Okay, so when you wear flats, they make those little sockies, you know, the ones that just cover your toes and your heels. That's what you wear with everyday flats, so that's what you're going to wear on the mission. Bring a lot of those because they're just going to get holes in them, just galore. So bring plenty so that you're not walking around like I was with holes in your socks for months at a time. Sorry, Mom, embarrassing, like dirty laundries on this film now, but bring plenty of those. And yeah, bring plenty of those. Don't bring hangers because that just takes up space. Okay, now I don't want anyone from the church to get mad at me with this, but in my blue book, at least, when you get your call, it says bring 2 sets of flat sheets. So basically 4 flat sheets. Do not do that. Maybe in my mission. Maybe it's like there's a reason in other missions. But you have meds, you have mattresses. Like, I had 4 flat sheets and a mattress. So what I did was I had to tie a corner or a knot in each of the corners of my mattress and stick it under the mattress so that it would stay on my bed. So bring a fitted sheet and a normal sheet, two sets of those. So I don't know why they say flat sheet. It's weird. But yeah. So to kind of wrap this up and really talk to you about Salta, Argentina. You are the luckiest person ever. And you have to realize that the second you're set apart, you are different. You are a missionary, but you're not entitled. You have to deserve to be a missionary. And it's not something that happens the second you're set apart. It's something that you have to work for. And the Lord needs you to work for it. And the people need you to work for it. You're going to be talking to my converts. And you're going to be talking to my companions' converts in other areas. And you have to do everything you can to make sure that they are active, that they go to the temple. We laid the seeds for you, and you will lay the seeds for others. So you are always representing the Lord. You are so lucky. Every day that you have out there, it goes by so fast. It goes by so fast. But the Lord does that on purpose because you need to learn how to obey the second it comes into your mind. There are no second chances on the mission. When you come home, you think back. That went by so fast. Did I do everything I could? But if you're thinking that, you have regrets. You know, the great thing about the mission is that you only get one chance. And you have to do it right the first time. So be the best missionary you can. If you're tired, keep going. If you want to complain, just don't. You're the luckiest person in the world. You know, if you come home with a blister, be so grateful that you had the opportunity to tract all day long. If something breaks or someone slams the door in your face, keep going, because there are people there. One time with a companion, we were walking, and we decided that, every time someone wasn't home, we would knock 3 doors before we would move on. So instead of, if we went to an appointment and someone wasn't home, maybe they stood us up or they forgot, weren't there, instead of leaving and going immediately to our next appointment, we decided that we would knock 3 doors before we left, maybe that street or that area, because there are people maybe around that maybe the Lord needed you to set that appointment up, and maybe he needed it to fall through for this other person. So we knocked the door and no one was there. And we knocked the door and no one was there, and we were walking by one house. And so we walked by, knocked the 3rd door, and no one was there. So we decided, okay, we'll keep going. So we rounded the corner to this street that we'd never been on, and we walked. And this happened to me twice on my mission, and I've never felt it before, and I have not felt it since. We were walking, and literally my body turned, like literally, not just like a little bit, but a full 90 degrees. Like it turned. And I started walking towards this house, and there was a woman sitting in front of the house. And I said, "Hi, we're missionaries. This is my companion, Sister Mortensen. We share a message." And she said, "I know I'm a member of your church, but I haven't been in 10 years, and I thought you had forgotten about me." And that's what the Lord does. No one in my mission knew that. No one in my family, no one in my mission, my president didn't know where I was that day. My mom didn't know where I was that day. Maybe this inactive, her mom didn't know where she was that day. Her friends, but the Lord knew where she was, and the Lord knew where we were. And this will happen to you time and time again. You will cry because people will stand you up. You will just be so crushed because they don't want to let you in. It is not easy, but if you give everything that you have, you will learn what the Lord needs you to learn. You will find the people that you needed to find, and the people that needed to find you to change your life will have found you as well. I do not regret going on a mission. I do not regret any pound gained. I do not regret any dog fight. I don't regret any time I ran. I don't regret anything. I don't regret anything. And it was all worth it. Everything was worth it. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that the Lord is involved in this work, because you will feel him more intimately than you have ever felt him before. And you will look at these people, and they won't be different than you. They won't be weird. You won't be worried that you're walking in 115 degree weather. You just won't worry about it. And it won't affect you, because the Lord will protect you. I know that this church is true. And these people down in Salta, they are our brothers and sisters. And every moment of my mission, when I wanted to slack off, I don't know why this reoccurring thought just always came to me. Am I doing what I told the Lord I would be doing? And maybe if I wanted to sit down or not knock a door, I had a companion that would remind me, or I would remind myself. I would ask us, are we doing what we promised the Lord we would be doing right now? Because if not, we got to get back on it. We got to go knock another door. You don't technically knock, you clap instead of knocking, but you'll clap another door, and you will find the people that the Lord wants you to. I know that this church is true. I really know that Joseph Smith was a prophet. I know that you were called to Salta because the Lord needs you there. I bear testimony of these things with all the confidence in my heart. I know that you can do it. Don't go home. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Don't even let it cross your mind. When you get there, you will finish. And I know that our Heavenly Father and that our brother Jesus Christ will help you every step of the way. He knows you and He knows these people, and He'll bring you together. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.